What is your secret that you can't tell anyone because it will probably ruin your life? I have no idea what I'm doing at work. The amount of time I spend clicking my mouse on my empty desktop and writing gibberish into a Word doc that I delete at the end of the day is shocking. I stopped working at work 1 year back. I have no idea what the F they want from me because I watch 12 hours of shows on my laptop and work for 30 minutes a day by attending a team huddle and staying on mute. 3-4 years ago I was responsible for providing a few reports to different teams. Each month I'd generate the reports, format it in a presentable way for the team managers I was sending them to, and send them over. Nobody ever said anything about them. Never a question about the data or even a reply to my email. So one month I just decided I wasn't going to send them. And then it turned into 2 months and 3 months. Nobody ever said a word about it. So I just stopped doing it. Got promoted the following year. 5 years before my stepdad died of Alzheimer's and leukemia, I noticed he was very quiet in the evenings when I visited him and my mom. I asked him, "Why don't you want to talk a bit more?" To which he responded, "If I don't say anything I can't say anything wrong." I took it to mean that he was afraid of conflicts with my mom and said that I would want to hear anything he had to say. After he died I realized why he said what he said. I was at a lunch with them when he tried to ask me something, but put in completely wrong nouns, nonsense choices, and every time he did that my mom started laughing and said, "Ha ha ha, now you've totally gotten things weird." She didn't know she was being condescending, because she didn't know he was getting advanced dementia. None of us knew then, and she just brushed his mistakes off as being silly mistakes. She couldn't know it shamed him so much that he stopped talking, since he didn't trust his words anymore, nor his sense of balance. I will never ever explain this to my mom, not even if I am super angry. I would do unretractable damage to my relationship with her. She mourned him deeply. Edit. To the heartless people insulting my mother over this post, she stood with my stepdad to the very end. Sat with him in his room in the nursing home when he sometimes would scream for a half hour in mortal dread as he realized the consequences of his worsening condition. Those days would completely crush her. She suffered more than anyone I know have done, and also saw her own dad die of cancer in her youth. So you know nothing of her sacrifice. We buried him 2 weeks ago. I'm doing all I can to spend time with my mom at the cabin and cook great meals for her, do chores in the garden. My brother and his wife helps too. My 54-year-old secret would ruin several lives. My childhood best friend's little brother is actually my son, and his children are my grandchildren. Edit. Forget DNA. I'm also related. Already donated stem cell. No problem. 23andMe will fix that real soon for ya. My mother-in-law did 23andMe about 9 years ago. She went into it thinking she had 3 other siblings. She's one of 11. The one unifying characteristic is that they are all their mother's child, just different dads. Is 23andMe can dump a lot more on ya than expected. I didn't stop doing martial arts because I was annoyed that they took in a kids group and we were expected to help coach them while still paying for our own classes. I stopped because fighting other men made me corny as hell, and that was not a context in which I wanted to interact with kids. And then I realized how f up it was that I was fighting other guys for my sexual gratification, while they just saw it as fighting. Period. So fighting on a whole kinda got shameful and disgusting. So I quit. You know what? I highly respect the fact that you recognize a kink in yourself, realize that it wasn't right to partake in it without the explicit consent of your partner, so to speak, or when it was around children, and chose not to continue. A lot of people would have just kept justifying it to themselves and digging themselves into a deeper hole, but you nipped it at the bud. That takes a lot of self-reflection and a lot of self-control. I hope you can find a safe outlet if you ever decide. Edit. I should specify that martial arts fighting is not my kink, but thank you for your kind comments. And a general thank you to the people who reached out through my DMs to provide resources for safe kink, even though I won't use them. It's very kind of you all to provide them anyways. I hid the extent of my alcoholism from everyone since I was 15. I'm now 35 and 8 weeks sober. No one knows I'm sober now, as they've never known I had an alcohol issue. This is me. I'm 27 and 95 days sober. No one in my life knows the extent of the drinking I did prior to getting pregnant in March. I plan to stay sober for my son when he is born and never go back to the place of hiding my alcoholism. Congratulations on 2 months sober. That's huge and incredible. All my passwords are the same word with different combinations of numbers and punctuation marks. A friend of mine's old roommate used the same answer for every security question, which was "I like spaghetti." He said even though he knew what it was, the handful of times he wanted to get on his roommate's computer or into his uni email, he'd get most of the way through, then realize he didn't realize how to spell spaghetti in the moment without looking at it. I have a bad back and from time to time it goes into a full spasm. One day I was getting out of bed, and as my foot hit the floor I went into a full spasm. I have no idea how, but a perfectly formed turd fell out the leg of my shorts and landed on the floor. Due to my spasm, I fell and landed right in the poop. The commotion woke up my GF at the time, and she ran over to check on me. I blamed the dog. I've never actually told anyone this before. Oh no. Babe, come here. Someone shit in my pants. When my niece was little, she pooped her pants. My sister said, somebody pooped in their pants, to try to talk about it with other adults without shaming the child. My niece excitedly exclaimed, somebody pooped in my pants. At Christmas, my family loves my homemade eggnog. It's just high-end store-bought eggnog, and I put in 2 tiny pieces of eggshell to make it look like they were missed when I strained the eggnog. I was once at a party for my nephew's birthday and really had to go. I noticed they had a basement bathroom, so while cake was being served, I dropped a juice that could peel paint. I was able to sneak in out without anyone noticing. Fast forward to after the party, and my Sil and Bill were complaining about 2 other family members clogging the upstairs bathroom and stinking up the basement. They complained that the smell lasted for days after that, and it had to be professionally cleaned. To this day, they blame the other couple to the point that they get angry discussing the topic. TLDR, I'm a mystery pooper, you're a party pooper. I fall asleep every night in horror, because my former best friend and I haven't talked in 3 years, because for her 21st birthday we both got massively blackout drunk and smoked. I have no idea what happened that night, but she's never answered a message I've sent since. Out of all the things I read so far, which is a lot, this is the only one that got any kind of reaction out of me, other than the man with dementia afraid to speak. The story everyone knows is, my boyfriend and I voluntarily left our place of work, because our relationship went against policy, and we valued our relationship more than our crappy jobs. The truth is we got caught effing in my car before work, and left in order to avoid repercussions. Sounds like the story you tell everyone is technically the truth. I'm 40 and my parents have no idea that I never actually graduated college. I went for almost 6 years and never felt like I really knew what I was doing. School wasn't necessarily hard for me, but I just couldn't bring myself to focus or be dedicated to it. My parents were super obsessed with the idea that everyone needs a degree to get any decent job, so there was a ton of pressure and dropping out wasn't an option. So, I graduated in a winter semester and decided not to walk the stage since the December ceremony was always pretty small and I knew they wouldn't think that was weird. This happened to be during the recession in the 2000s, so I had an excuse for not finding a conventionally professional job right after that. Now, I actually have a really good job with a company that focuses on hiring people based on experience, skill, and personality, so it turns out I didn't even need that degree. But I will never tell my parents the truth. Edit. Dang. I did not expect this to get so many responses from others in a similar situation. Thanks for sharing your stories. I'm glad to hear that others were able to find their own way despite familial pressure. To those saying, now it's on the internet and no longer a secret, this is an old throwaway account and I specifically switched over to post this comment. Also, I am aware that people have murdered over this type of lie. Yikes. But I very much love my parents and am also not a raging psychopath, so worries on that front. I won the lotto. Haven't told anyone or changed my lifestyle. I'm still going to finish my degree in data science, so I can say my money is from a new job. Edit. Thank you for the kind words. To answer some questions, winnings just surpassed the 8-figure mark. $10 on quick picks. Why would a DS play the lotto? Well, I'm not one yet, but just for shits and giggles every once in a while. Yes, I know the odds, but that 0.000000024% chance could be you. Haha. That data science job must pay super good for our son. He just got his first check and purchased a $30 million home in cash. It's crazy how his new job gave him 200 days of vacation time and enough money to party in Europe for a full year as a sign-on bonus. My childhood friend has 2 siblings that he doesn't know exist. They're twins, around 2 years old now. I promised to keep it a secret. My dad and his dad are close friends. My dad is quite the gossip and spilled every last detail to me. Apparently their father, handsome, tall, a sports prodigy, slept with a doctor who lied about being on birth control so that she could give birth to his children, who she claimed had superior genetics. She was his former doctor who pulled up his private records in order to score a date with him, as she had all his contact info at hand. Never wanted child support or even a father in her kids' lives. Just an involuntary sperm donor. Very weird. Once after a hookup, a chick asked me if I would donate my sperm because I'm handsome and she want to be a single mother and I wouldn't be legally bounded or anything. I just laughed, made an excuse to leave, grabbed my condom from the trash and left. I left my job at an electronics manufacturing company in 2002, but they continued paying me my full salary, including all incremental raises and annual bonus until they offered me a very generous redundancy package in 2022, due to departmental restructuring, including an £85,000 lump sum contribution to my pension fund. I even got the quarterly magazine and annual Christmas card sent to me. In March of this year, 2023, I got an invite to the 75th anniversary of the company, went along, had a great time at the free bar, and nobody realized I hadn't worked there for over 20 years. You've got to love a good administrative error. After fleeing domestic violence and trying to make a new life, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. I'm fighting it, but I'm just so tired of life. My last baby turns 18 this week and I feel like I've done all I'm supposed to. I'm sick of being strong for everyone else when all I want to do is go. I'm just so damn tired. Edit. Wow. Woke up this morning to this blowing up. I can thank everyone enough for the kind comments, messages and overall support. I have somewhat a better outlook on things, at least for today anyway. Suppose just one day at a time. I wish I could bless you all with awards and thanks, but for now upvotes will have to do. Thanks again. You don't know how much your kind words and thoughts mean to me. My uncle beat cancer 3 times. When it came around a 4th time he said F it, lived his best life until he ran out of time. You are entitled to that decision. I sometimes have the strong urge to run away from my life and start over. It may not ruin it but won't be good. I've had the same idea for years. I've planned out details for years in my head, like where I would go, how I would fake my death, how to get away with it, etc. Lol, it's fun to think about, but I DK if I would ever act on it. Results may vary, but I did it. I was not happy in an engagement, called off the wedding, moved clear across the country, and for the first time in my life lived the way I would like to live. I bought a house, I'm having a baby, and have a job I enjoy well enough. It was the best decision I ever made. I caught a guy upping a girl, yelling for help, in a tent at a very loud bush party. In my university days, I was drunk myself and I ended up blacking out with rage and beating him up with his pants around his ankles so bad that he was put in a coma for a couple of days. I never saw any consequences other than probably a broken knuckle. Nobody witnessed anything and I got off scot-free. The girl in the tent definitely wasn't going to say anything. From his Facebook it looks like he is a happy and healthy father of 2 now. He doesn't know who I am, but I think I came very close to killing someone with a rock, caveman style, that night. Edit. Thanks everyone for the responses, but violence is not the answer. Calling people out on their day-to-day actions before they are able to act something like that out should always be the primary action to prevent stuff like that from happening. Almost killing someone isn't something 20-year-old me thought he was going to do that night. I think I'm not as nice as people believe I am. I am just acting according to social norms, when in reality everything outside my home makes me feel tired and drained. That actually means you're nice. It probably means you're nicer than the average nice person. Really. One of my closest family members offered me sex during one of the most mentally unstable times of his life. I wasn't interested, nothing else happened, and the topic never came up again. One of the main reasons why I haven't brought it up in family is because his marriage is already unstable and I don't intend to make it worse. I know the feeling. I have 2 family members, cousins, that have made me feel uncomfortable and I don't think they have a clue. I used to work for organized crime, but decided to leave. They tried having me killed multiple times, so I fled the state and go by a different name now. They tried having me killed multiple times. Dang, no wonder you left. They aren't very organized. Unorganized crime. Those cookies I bought to the company picnic were store-bought from a small bakery in town. Then I put them in my Tupperware. See you in hell. I put Stouffer's, edit, mac and cheese, in a crock pot and let the edges get crispy for work potlucks. Everyone is amazed at my cooking abilities. Also, I just use like 5 boxes of stovetop stuffing for Thanksgiving and put bacon bits on the top. My co-workers think I'm a culinary god. That I'm dying. Gonna sit on that one for as long as I can. Edit. Ooh. Foolishly I just thought this would get buried in a Reddit avalanche. And there would be like 2 flippant remarks. I better clarify a few things. First up, I'm real sorry I dredged up so many memories of people being on the receiving end of this. I don't intend to do that. I'll explain more further down. The deal is, I have HIV, have done for a long time, and though it was pretty gnarly at the start, it was mostly just annoying once it was under control. Last year though I started getting sick a lot, and, welp, turns out my meds aren't working so good no more. Neither did the next set, and the current set seems like it's going the same way. Of course, there's a chance one of the meds coming up will work fine and I'll be back to normal, but as things stand, my out of control viral load and plummeting T-cell count probably put my lifespan in single-digit years. It's not as dramatic as a mere month's stage 4 cancer diagnosis, and of course I still might wiggle out of it if we find a med that works. But yeah, it's a thing. As for the telling my loved ones, well, most of them don't know that I have HIV in the first place, so that's an extra sticking point. I didn't not tell them at the start because I was ashamed. It was more that I just thought that I would end up being the one doing the reassuring and educating. And honestly, after surviving the early times, I just didn't have the energy for it. And yes, I know that it's coming back to bite me now. But, aside from that initial awkward talk, I just don't know how long this will take. And the docs still might find something that works and I won't be dying at all. And then I'll have turned my life upside down for nothing. I won't let it get right up to the end without telling anyone. I just don't want to do it all for such a flimsy, maybe not, especially when even the worst case scenario will probably take years. I'll let them all know when the writing is properly on the wall. Okay, I don't even know why I put it on here. I guess getting my dogshit blood work back last week before going to family dinners and listening to my siblings making all their awesome long-term plans just left me feeling a bit black. To those of you that said kind words, thank you. To those who said less than kind words, I'm sure you're still lovely most of the time. Play nicely with each other. I hate to say this, but I don't see myself as a doctor in the future. But I can't say anything about it, because my mom already supported me financially. It's too late to back out. I've seen lots of people with MDs go on to medicine adjacent work. Find what interests you, and then figure out how to incorporate your education into the new thing if possible. For example, MD that works in a research institute doing medical ethics work. Some people go more into business side of things. I think there are more options than bedside doctoring, is what I'm saying. While addicted to meth, I accidentally got caught up working for a Wazzy gang in my hometown. They were just having me smurf and collect money for them. But by the time I realized what they were all about, they weren't about to let me just stop working. So I kept doing it, until I was able to leave my hometown and make it out to Tampa. The things I got involved in, while working with them, could put me in prison for 20 years. Most of my family think I lived a pretty normal junkie life back then, but they have no idea how easy it is to get involved with big name dealers in a town with such a high cartel presence. I secretly hate the super popular friend in my friend group as they are a one-upper. They are annoying, super intrusive, and not lying. They are rich and do everything. They have a one-upper story and you know they are telling the truth. Oh yeah? That's awesome. Reminds me of when I went skydiving without a parachute. My partner jumped after me, clipped onto me, and pulled his chute. It was the most exhilarating experience. Let me have this Randall. Solution. Become a wanderer. After each one of his over-the-top stories, you tell one that is similar, but ridiculously less interesting. In all of the ways his seems exaggerated. Him. I jumped out of an airplane without a parachute. You. Sadly. Yeah. I went hiking without a backpack. And socks. No socks. I guarantee you will get huge laughs with this. More people are likely irritated by this guy than you realize. I have almost taken my own life on 16 separate occasions. And nobody knows. I can't tell anyone, because then I would be put in a hospital until Jesus returns. Edit. I appreciate the kindness, and I would like to assure everyone that I am in a much better mental state nowadays. It isn't perfect, but it's been a while since it was as bad as it used to be, and I am working on getting some help with my problems. About 11 years ago I contacted my estranged father. We had become estranged due to the fact he abused my older sister when we were children. We sent some emails back and forth and I lied that I was doing a college degree and needed help with tuition and costs. He must have sent me about £50k in 3 years. He found out it was a lie as he emailed the uni I said I went to, asking for a receipt for tax purposes, and I blocked him and never spoke to him again. That £50k was spread between me, my siblings and my mom when we were in financial difficulties, and I played it off as winning big in an online casino. I don't feel an ounce of guilt, but I'm not sure if my family would understand what I did. The man didn't pay any child support when he and my mother divorced about 12 years before this. So, I feel justified in scamming him. My wife knows and she's agreed to keep my secret. Edit. Just for some further information. My parents divorced when I was 8. Found out he had been molesting my sister when I was 17. Between the ages of 17-20 I didn't talk to him. Started scamming him at 20 all the way to age 24. I actually did go to uni the year after he found out and now work as a lab tech. That £50k brought us out of poverty and gave my mom the breathing space necessary to find a better job and move us to a nicer area of the town that I used to live in. My sister has tried to unalive herself countless times trying to deal with the trauma he inflicted on her. His brothers all know what he did and yet took his side. He fled to NZ in 2007, around 2 years before we found out what he did. I sometimes go on his new wife's Facebook to see how they're doing and it doesn't seem like he's missing the £50k. I did what I had to do to help my family. That £50k also paid for private therapy for my sister who was being let down by the NHS. It saved her life. I have no regrets. I'm a nurse. I take care of people for a living. In real life, I can't even take care of myself. My house is literally falling apart because I was super depressed and let the little things turn into big things. My only hope is that the whole thing just collapses or something. I've tried to end my life 15 times. I'm fine now. It's been years since I felt that way, but I'm pretty sure the board of nursing looks down on that many attempts. I'm broke. I make good money now, but before I was a nurse I lived well below the poverty line. I still have debt up to my eyeballs that I'm trying to dig myself out from under. I wish bad things to happen to my ex. I love my life now, but he ruined it for a long time. The ways he hurt me and my family left their marks forever. I'm very funny and outgoing at work. My patients love me, but I'd rather sit silently at home. So, nothing too crazy, but maybe enough to lose my livelihood, thus ruining my life. I found out I had a half brother from dad, and the only reason I found out about it was because he had leukemia, and they thought I'd be a match for a blood marrow transfusion. I've gained over 100 pounds since the start of the pandemic, and fallen into the deepest depression I've ever experienced. If you were to see me in person, you wouldn't think I was depressed. I'm very good at masking it, but if you were to come to my home, You'd know. I haven't had anyone in my home in almost 2 years. Right now I have bags of garbage that stink that I need to take out. I need to vacuum and mop my floors. My bed is broken on one side so I sleep at a slant. My couch is covered in boxes, bags, and just nonsense. I haven't folded my laundry in ages. My shower door is broken. I'm really struggling and I don't have anyone. Both my parents live in different parts of the country. I'm an only child. I don't know what I'm going to do. In high school, I stole the MP3 player of a classmate, went into the locker room during PE and snatched it. I didn't steal it because I wanted it or to sell it. I just did it because she was an awful judgmental queen bee, and I wanted to get back at her. People saw me with it in hands, so the next day I was called into the principal's office. Steadfastly and self-assuredly denied everything. They looked at my bag, then called my parents who searched my entire room for the stolen MP3 player. They never found it, so I was let go. Still got into a fist fight with the girl later though, as she knew it was me. To this day I've never admitted it to anyone, ever. I was that petty. I still don't feel regret, even though I'm usually empathetic to a fault. She was that awful to others. I recognize it was wrong though, definitely. In any case, the MP3 player was buried in my garden as soon as I got home, and this garden is currently a megastore parking lot. It's the silliest thing. Don't know why I've never admitted to it. That time in the early 1980s when I solved my Rubik's Cube, I actually just peeled off all the stickers and put them back in order. I just love how all of the stories here are either on the 3rd of September at 2:37, and I went to a truck stop and murdered someone in the bathroom, or my homemade cookies aren't homemade.